Hello, my name is Markus Römer, and today we talk about another topic, the organizational chart, roles and responsibilities, and how this fits into the GMP context overall. And what I see as an auditor and as a consultant, I think that's also a very important task for consultancy works in any way. I will show you something to that later. It's very important to understand how the organization, the company, the firm, how it works. So let's start it very easy. So whenever you have an organization in front of you as an auditor, as a consultant, as an employee, you can have a view on the organizational chart, or some call it also organigram, however you call it. You should know that there are different types of organizational structures. If you Google for that, you will find some sources who say there are 3 different types, or 7 different types, or 10 different types. I just have taken this one when I was Googling for it. So it could be a hierarchical structure, a functional structure, even very interesting, a matrix structure, a divisional structure, depends on the size, or the network structure, a team-based structure, for example, even for software development or for IT service management. I do not see that very often in the GMP area, but it could also work, and a horizontal flat structure. So anyhow, there are different structures how to organize that. Depending also on the size, there's not one solution who fits all, basically, but sooner or later you might think about tools for managing your organizational chart. There are really cool tools and stuff on the market, where you can even have messenger functions, training plans, job descriptions, whatever, things like this, very well organized. You can also, some organizational charts are just put into PowerPoint or MS Visio or whatever. There are different ways how to handle that. So let's go back to the regulatory requirements. I just have taken some of them, not all of them. Today we are, first of all, in GMP medical medicines, Europe, and in chapter 2 of the GMP regulations, of the European GMP regulations, you will find a chapter 2 personnel, and that's quite very interesting. So usually they talk about key personnel, and senior management should appoint key management personnel, including the head of production, the head of quality control, the head of quality assurance, or head of quality unit, however you call it. There could also be other quality systems within your pharmaceutical quality system for environmental protection and so on. This is the setup. And what I really like at chapter 2, but you will find that very identically in part 211 of the US FDA in CGMP. But you see that here quite very well put together what is the responsibilities of the head of the production department, of the quality control, of the quality unit, and so on. What is also interesting here is one sentence, which I always keep in mind: senior management has the ultimate responsibility to ensure an effective quality management system. So a quality manager, head of quality unit or something like this cannot say, I can't do that. He must be supported, get management attention to do the jobs, and have the right resources in financial and with the employees and so on. Okay, so you find in any GMP, GDP, GLP, GCP regulation this naming of the key personnel. Some companies give these roles other titles. Basically, it doesn't matter. Some are very innovative to say that's the e-compliance, whatever manager, master of excellence, doesn't matter. An inspector or for the US FDA, the investigator will always ask for this key personnel, which is normally then mentioned in the site master file, or if you are in the medical device industry, in your quality manual. I also put something here in for the medical devices from a wonderful company institute. It's the Jona Institute. Here you see a mapping of the basically old part 820 and ISO requirements 3000 485. So top management shall ensure that responsibilities and roles are defined, documented, and communicated with the organization. I had just one audit where the people were saying we do not publish our org chart because even not to the own employees. So, okay, anyhow, maybe that's not so clever. Or you find that also in the US FDA regulations, each member shall establish and maintain an adequate organizational structure. So that will be an organizational chart or organigram, however you call it. Okay. I have written something about org chart management also here on LinkedIn in an article, how to verify GXP compliant organizational chart. Whenever I do an audit, maybe one of the first 2 or 3 questions is, do you have an organizational chart, that I get an overview of the company, the roles and responsibilities. I describe here a little bit an audit situation. Sometimes it's very interesting that you get an org chart which is approved on whatever 26th of February, and you do the audit exactly on this day, and then the question is it version controlled? Is it a GMP record? Basically it is, even the regulatory requirements are behind of that. And sometimes it's very confusing how lazy and how not with the appropriate skills and attitude an organization chart is treated. Is it part of the site master file? How is it organized, and so on? And does the company understand what a function is and what is the role is and what a responsibility is? Or is it all kind of silo solutions that you have some job descriptions, but this does not fit to the org chart, and the training plans look totally different, and then the user rights in the system are totally different. So what also sometimes happens is that somebody is telling me, yeah, we have a new manager, a new CEO, and very often the CEOs, the first thing that they do is that they would change of the org chart. So then the question is, this kind of a change in the org chart, the underlying, let's say 187 SOPs, process descriptions and the work instructions with the individual roles for the different tasks, have they also been modified, or how did that happen? And was a change initiated? There are also often discussions, do I need to do a change if I change the org chart? So we will answer all that questions here. It's not a huge article, but you will find also things like this. You look on an org chart and you see whatever the abbreviations and or to be TBD, to be defined. Yeah, sometimes very interesting that you get an impression how smart, how good a company is organized. Regarding the change control procedure, let's have a few on ICH-Q9. There was an update in February 2023, so basically it's brand new. Again, here I often have the feeling that the people say, yeah, there's something new, but the question is, have they really read it? So just for our question in the moment, or me as an auditor, if you go on page 22, it's not at the start of the document, auditing inspections according to ICH-Q9. So here I just highlighted major changes of building, equipment, processes, key personnel. So ICH-Q9 is also defining that if you do a change of the head of production or whatever, you introduce a new role or a new person, or you change the entire type of the organizational chart, you should have an eye on that. What kind of impacts does that have on procedures, work instructions, even on user rights if you have electronic systems? So I see it as relevant for change control. You can even maybe work with a different type of a change control, because it's a difference if you change the recipe or the marketing authorization or something like this. But what happens if you change the organization chart? Not everybody should be able to just according their own feelings or whatever to change the org chart. All these things will have an impact, maybe on product, processes, services, on quality decisions, maybe on data flows and so on. I think my interpretation is, yes, it's a major change of if you change key personnel. An impact analysis should be there in writing. So do the formal change control process. I also have drawn an own picture to get my message better to you. So I just make a proposal. So I have taken here an org chart, a very simple one, just today for this YouTube video. On top, you have the senior management. Senior management has the ultimate responsibility. Okay, so they are on top. They get also the money for that, so they have these responsibilities. And now I have taken over exactly from the European GMP the titles, or I call it the functions. So there's the head of production, head of quality control, and so on. That is this kind of key personnel that you should have. I just copied in the responsibilities. In every SOP, you see it repeated and repeated again and again and again. You see the responsibilities, or it's the chapter roles and responsibilities. Sometimes I have the feeling it's not even based on the regulations or on the standards that are defined. Anyhow, I just copied it in, very simple, from that tab, from the chapter 2, head of production. What are the responsibilities to approve the instructions related to product operations and to ensure their strict implementation and so on. I stopped that with the head of quality assurance and qualified person, but it's exactly the same. And there, if you do it like this, in some companies, for example, what I see is that the qualified person is also responsible for qualifying the suppliers, and the qualified person must join supplier audits or something like this. Basically, you can give them the responsibility to do so, but per definition, per law, it's not defined like that. So maybe sometimes it's quite very good just to reflect what kind of responsibilities are written down in the regulations. Then I was drawing here something in, saying, okay, these are the functions. So if you get a business card or an email of the person, then the signature of the email should state that's the head of production. If you go now down, and sometimes this is missing, this kind of mapping between the organizational chart, the functions, the responsibilities, now we go into the level of SOPs. It could be that you have 86 SOPs, maybe you have 400 SOPs, you have SOPs and work instructions, however you call it, or you have a policy level in between of that, and you might have a site master file or quality manual, whatever, something like this hierarchical structure of documents and records. And what you do is, if you would write now an SOP for the approval of instructions related to production operations. So here, the master batch record, for example, and the underlying SOPs, whatever, for cleaning and gowning and so on. It states here, should approve instructions, production operations. So the function head of production should do this. If you open an SOP, you have a process description. You could use something like SitePOC or a swim lane model or whatever. You try to give a good overview of the process, and there you define process roles. So the role of the head of production, the function head of production, the role would be approver of instruction. So this role could go into special access rights or user groups assignments in your whatever, EQMS, LIMS, MES, ERP. I didn't mention everything, but from my experience, sometimes the people often have the problem if they validate or if they implement a computerized system, if the entire org chart and the functions are not clearly defined, not the responsibilities, and then you should assign a user to a user group, and you could have in complex systems 18, 25 different user groups with underlying access rights on each button and text field or whatever, decision-making process, any buttons on the mask of the software itself. So then you have 4,000 or 5,000 different access levels, individual access levels. So if you are not clear in defining your functions and your process roles, then this could be a big problem. So that's just a precondition that this works. If you know all the roles within the processes, then you can also define job descriptions. Very often in audits, or even if I do consultancy, the job descriptions are written afterwards, years after that, in a very generic style, what the responsibilities of head of productions are. And then it's very complicated. Where is this process role and the function mentioned in all of this 200 SOPs or something like this? Modern and very good EDMS systems or EQMS QMS system can handle that, so that you can go back and forth from the job description to the role, to the function, from the function back to whatever quality decision-making processes and so on. But that implies also a very smart implementation of that. So I just want to give you an overview. It's only my own personal definition, that I have not found any common strategy for that. But usually I think in a functional level, head of production, what is the process role of this person? What are the defined responsibilities? In which SOP can I find that? And if they have an EQMS, EDMS system, which kind of user group is assigned to that? And this mapping sometimes is a little bit hard. If you have managed it properly, the job descriptions are created automatically, and it could also happen that your audit plans, your training plans are also generated automatically on each section of the relevant SOPs, for example. Sometimes I see that people must join a lot of different training sessions based each on one SOP, and they must read whatever 48 pages per SOP and 10 SOPs per day or something like this. Yeah, that makes no sense. So I hope that my idea of functions and roles and how this is covered, that is a little bit better to understand if you look on that picture here. So again, no reason to reinvent the wheel or to think about that. The things are written down in the GXP requirements and in the regulations and so on. So that was a little bit about the organizational chart. You can also read my article on LinkedIn. There you will find also some additional information on that, also on data flows, how to write SOPs in a generic style derived from the organizational chart, thinking in function and roles or something like this, and some typical audit findings and things like this. At the end, I also want to give you another idea, another YouTube video, basically. If you talk about the different types of organizational structures, which one is the correct one? There's a methodology which is called 9 levels. You see here Rainer Krumm, he's also here from the city here. I know him. And that's very interesting. That's a fantastic concept. You can contact Rainer on that. It's based on value. And there are these different 9 levels, and you can even ask yourself, on which level are we in the moment? Is it a small organization? Do we have some egoism strategies? Do we have always this Bruce Willis guy rescuing us, or on which level are we, and which level do we want to have? I find that very interesting sometimes nowadays, that people tell me, yeah, we want to have agile project management or something like this, and I'm looking on the organizational structure and it's not prepared for the things that you want to do. So you find also some very interesting things on this 9 levels concept. I really like it. When I enter a company, I also ask myself, on which level is this company in the moment? Where should they be? It could also be that you say you are there where you should be. That's absolutely okay. So that was today about GMP requirements regarding the organizational chart, same for medical devices. I want to show you functions, responsibilities, the roles, where it is written in, the relationship between procedures, instructions, and the functions, and so on, and also on my article. So I hope you enjoyed it today. It was a little bit different to whatever, computer system validation or something like this, but it's also a very important point to have an eye on that, on the GMP requirements, how to implement them, and how you can build up a smart organization. It's very important regarding compliance. Thank you so much.